It's your host, live well, it's Omobola Stephen. My name is Omobola Stephen, and welcome to the show. This podcast focuses on self-improvement and personal development topics with the occasion of expert and professionals who come to the show to share their insights and topics or subjects on the personal development. Now, it's been a worthwhile podcast episodes till date. Today, I have Karen Knight, who is a consultant volunteer leadership expert. She's also a dynamic and engaging speaker. Welcome to Live well, it's Omobola Stephen. Karen Knight.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to talking.
All right, looking forward to your professional insight also, Karen. Now you'll be talking about volunteering. Now this is a topic so passionate and so dear to me, right? I love volunteering, right? And I've got some few good ones going for me. Now I need you to tell me more. How did it all started?
For me, the whole volunteering started when I was about 11 years old, and I was visiting my grandmother, and she was in a care home. And everybody that day was very sad because the bingo had been canceled. They played bingo every Wednesday or whatever day it was, and it was canceled because the person who called it couldn't make it that day. So I said, well, I can do that. I can call bingo. It's easy. And so I did. 2 hours we played bingo, and everybody came up to me afterwards. We're so thankful, and you made our day because we were so upset it was not going to happen. And I just got this fire in my heart that I thought, I can make people happy just by spending time with them. And that started me on a whole lifetime of volunteering and working with volunteers.
All right, now let's talk volunteer engagement, right? What do you see as the most important trend in volunteering today?
Appreciation. If you have volunteers, show them appreciation. You may know inside your heart how much you really like them, but make sure they know it. If nothing else, if you don't do anything else with your volunteers, show them how much you appreciate what they do. Because if you don't, they'll be gone. I tell people that appreciation is the air that our volunteers breathe. So without it, your volunteer program won't survive. If you are a volunteer, go where your passion is. Don't volunteer just because you feel you have to or you feel you should. Go to a place that resonates with you, that you really feel passionate about, and then you'll get so much out of it.
All right. Now you're talking about appreciation and we managing, right, and volunteers very well in order for them to stay back. Right now, let's look at talent management. Now, nonprofits rely on volunteers. You and I agree on that. But most organizations, they do a poor job of managing these people. So as a result, more than 1/3, right, of these volunteers 1 year do not wait, right, to do volunteering the following year, right, as a non-profit. So do you have any strategy approach you like to offer in this regard?
Again, it comes back to appreciation, but a lot of it too is being ready for your volunteers. I volunteered once at a museum, and I signed up, I got all the paperwork. They said, okay, this is when your shift starts. So I went there and I said, here I am, what would you like me to do? And the person in charge just looked at me blankly. They had no clue. And I thought, well, I mean, it was my first shift. Maybe they weren't expecting me, all this stuff. But it happened 3 times in a row that I went there and they just were so disorganized. And they had me doing stupid make work projects I really got the feeling that I was being more of a hassle than a help to them. And so I never went back. And so be ready for your volunteers, have important things for them to do. And they don't have to be big things or vital things, but they have to be something that helps the mission, because that's why people volunteer, is because they believe in what you're doing. So if you show, even if you're just filing or doing something small, if you can show a line between what they're doing and how it helps their mission and what they're doing in the world, then people will stick around. They want to be making a difference, and if they feel that they're making a difference, then they'll stick around.
All right. I know that you're a professional in the area of volunteering. Like, I would like you to share, successful strategies for recruiting, training, and utilizing volunteers.
Training's big, because again, people like to feel like they're helping, and to do that, they need to know what they're doing, and they don't want to make mistakes. Or I was working with an organization that was a hospice, so people who were in care, and the training was quite poor. And one of the volunteers was making beds for the clients, and she left a crease in the bottom sheet, and the client got bed sores. And the volunteer was heartbroken that she had caused pain and suffering to this client she was trying to help. And so she left, she quit. I'm not good enough for this. But it wasn't her fault, it was the training. So make sure even the simplest tasks, you take the time to show them how it's done, and give them instructions so that they can feel good about what they're doing. And if you do that well, you'll get people whose skills will increase, and that gives them a reason for coming back, because a lot of people volunteer because they want to improve their skills. And it'll help your clients, and it'll help your mission go forward if your volunteers are well trained. So take the time to build a good training program.
Right, now let's talk about inclusion and diversity in volunteering. Now that is very important, topic for discussion, especially in this era of change. Now, what suggestions do you have for non-profits, right, to increase diversity, right, in their volunteering?
This is something that's really quite close to my heart. I come from a family that was, or is, I have to be honest, is extraordinarily racist. I grew up in a very small community, and if you weren't exactly like us, there was something wrong with you. And I grew up with that. And it wasn't until I left that small town and moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, and met some of these people that were constantly being called down on, that my eyes were opened, and the entire world expanded for me. All of a sudden, there was so much more to enjoy in the world. And so diversity and equity inclusion, that's something that means a lot to me. I was attending a diversity training workshop once, and one of the local professors at a local university said something that really resonated with me. He said that we can't create inclusion for other people. We have to co-create it with them. And that I've really taken to heart. And I've talked to all my clients. I say, okay, yes, you want to have inclusion, but you can't just do it on your own. Think about the gaps in your area, like whether that's age or ethnicity or gender or whatever, and then go and talk to them before you start putting a program in place, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So yeah, you can't create inclusion for others. You have to co-create it with them. I love that phrase.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Karen Knight, for that insight, right? And now we talk about the pandemic, COVID-19, and all that goes with it. We all understand the challenges it has brought in so far. So how has the pandemic, how has it impacted, right, volunteering in nonprofit?
Oh, in a huge way, because in many cases, not-for-profits, all our volunteers were in person, or 90% of them were all in person, and now they can't be. Many not-for-profits just either put their head in the sand and said, just wait till it goes away. And then it went on and on and on. And even the most conservative not-for-profits are realizing, okay, this isn't going away, so we have to deal with it. And a lot of it is just being really flexible in how you do your programs. One of my clients is a therapeutic riding association. So they take kids with disabilities and put them on horses. And you can't do that. Many of these kids have physical disabilities. They can't stay stable in a saddle. So they have volunteers who walk with them to make sure that they're safe. We couldn't do that. So a lot of riding associations like ours closed down, right? And said, okay, we'll reopen when this happens. The one I was working with, we didn't. What we did was said, okay, how can we do this? Well, we trained the caregivers of our clients to be the volunteers who walk with them, right? So the people in the same bubble, their family members or caregivers, whoever, were the ones who walked with them and were in contact with them, so that we could just keep going the way we always had. And there's kind of a secondary benefit to that, is so many of those people who helped their own family members got so excited and happy with the program that now they're volunteering. Now that it's opening up, they're volunteering with other kids as well, right? So it's just, you just have to be flexible and think creatively. How can we do this? There is a way. We just have to figure it out.
Right. I was working remotely, right? What's the success rate having to work as a volunteer remotely?
The success rate depends very much on how you as an organization puts it through. If you're flexible, if you stay in contact, communication is key. You have to over communicate. Something that you might do 2 or 3 times a week with your volunteers in person, you do every day. Just reach out and talk to them. How's things going? Are you having any problem with your Zoom or with whatever platform you're using? How is it going? Just show that you're interested, that you care, that they're not just in some box somewhere sending stuff out, that they're still part of a team. And if you can make them feel as they're still part of the team and involve them in things as much as possible, then they're a lot more comfortable with it. It is hard. Lots of people are getting really, really tired of being on screens all the time. Yeah.
I quite understand.
Did you get that?
That's right.
But, yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get over it, right? And we're almost getting over it, right?
Right.
Right. Right. Sure. Karen, I understand, right? I understand that our volunteer recruitment can easily, right, become a time-consuming process, right? Do you have any strategies as a professional, an expert in your field? Any strategies, or how can we make this process less time-consuming?
I'm not so sold on making everything less time-consuming. Okay, certainly you need to save time, but you need to save time at the back end and not at the front end. So you spend the time on your recruitment and on your training, on getting everybody up and part of the team. If you spend the time there, you won't be spending it re-recruiting and retraining over and over and over again. Because if you do the front part well, your volunteers will stick around. If you do the front part poorly, you'll be doing it over and over and over again. And that's far more of a time waster than spending an extra hour with each volunteer at the beginning. Does that make sense?
Sure. Karen, now, I like to have a volunteer program in my community, right? I would like you to enlighten me or my audience in this regard.
On how to set up, that would depend very much on what you want your community to look like and what the impact of it is. What do you want your volunteers to be doing? What's the outcome?
Right. Go ahead.
All right.
Give me some directions.
Yeah. Once you know what your impact is, what the outcome of doing all this is, then and you have to be passionate about it. Don't do something because you think, oh, I should do something, or there's a need here, I should fill it. Do something that you are really passionate about, because your passion will spread out to everybody else, and then they'll feel that same passion and see that same need. You'll carry them with you. And then, yeah, then set up a program and think about each of the steps that you need to. I talk about the 5 different parts of a volunteer program. And the first one, of course, is appreciation. That's the main thing. Appreciate your volunteers. And then recruitment, training and onboarding, management, and program review. Because at least once a year, you should look at your program. Is it doing what I want it to do? So think about what your ideal volunteer program would look like. What if it was absolutely perfect for what you wanted done? What does that look like? And then look at what you've got and figure out the steps to get you as close to that as you can. I mean, nothing is ever perfect, obviously, but how close can you get? And you have to know what perfect is to know which direction you're going in.
Right. Now, volunteering, is it really perfect? Can you share me some challenges?
Yeah, lots.
The volunteering, volunteering practice.
Right. Probably the one I hear the most, the most common thing is my volunteers aren't reliable. They'll sign up for a shift and then not show up.
That's why they're volunteers. Don't you think so?
To some extent, yeah. But if you say you're going to do something, people expect you to carry through, right? Or at least say, hey, something's come up, I can't make it. And the other one is they get volunteers and they work for a short while, they get all trained up, and then they disappear and never come back, and you never see them again. So those are kind of the 2 biggest challenges that most not-for-profits face. And part of it is with reliability is to set expectations at the front and explain to the volunteer what happens when they don't show up. Like if they just cancel, or they're supposed to show up for a shift and they just don't, what the repercussions to the clients, to the mission is, so that they know that it's not just a throwaway. That I'm just a volunteer, it won't matter if I don't show up, because it does. In most cases, it really does. With this Therapeutic Riding Association I was telling you about, if they have a volunteer who doesn't show up, sometimes a kid can't take his lesson, right? They're waiting for the person to hold them and keep them safe, and they don't show up. And if they don't have someone there who's free, who can do it, the poor kid goes home without having his lesson.
Right?
It is, and it's hurtful. So if the volunteer knows that, they're less likely to just not show. They may not make a shift, but they'll more likely phone you ahead of time so that you can make arrangements. So just be clear on the importance of what they're doing, and then they're less likely to disappear. In terms of commitment, again, like we've already talked about, that comes down to appreciation and good training. If they feel like they're getting something out of it, whether that's training or appreciation or whatever, the more they feel they're getting something out of it, the more likely they'll stick around for the long term.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you once again, Karen Knight, for your submission. And quickly, I'd like you to tell me, can volunteering, can it really improve one's life?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there's tons of studies that show that people who volunteer have a stronger social system, like a social network, that they tend to have higher rates of personal happiness. They have higher rates of, what's the word I'm looking for? That they think faster because they're involved, they're doing things. They have a greater self-esteem because they can see the difference they're making in the world. There's all sorts, like I said, the internet is filled with studies on the benefits of being a volunteer, because there's tons of them. And I've seen it myself. I've seen the growth of my own self-confidence, the growth of my own, I mean, the people I know people everywhere. I have because of my various volunteer roles over the decades of, I have close friends. I'm in Canada. But I could show up in India and have people put me up in their houses. You just show up on their doorstep saying, I'm here, and oh, Karen, come on in. In like I said, India and Saudi Arabia and China and Ireland and wherever. I just know people from everywhere. And it really opens your whole world up. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Can you tell I'm a little bit passionate about it?
Great, sure. Thank you once again. Do you have any projects in the pipeline you'd like to share?
I am currently right now creating a certificate program for volunteer managers. So people who are wanting to build a volunteer program either from scratch or they have one that they know is flawed and they want to fix it. It'll be it's got 6 modules. It'll be mostly video training and downloadable resources, but you also get 6 one-hour one-on-one mentoring sessions with me to help you with whatever problems you're dealing with, whether it's on the job or part of the course or whatever. And that's my big thing that I'm doing right now.
Good one. And that's coming out of fee, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Wish you best of luck in the projects. Now, would you like to share any parting words with my audience?
Volunteer. It's a wonderful thing to do. And if you have volunteers, love them, show them your appreciation. Don't just tell them, but show them in every way you can think of, because that's why they're there. So yeah, but volunteer. It's a wonderful thing to do for yourself.
Yeah. It's a wonderful thing. Also, I have a personal experience, so I can really relate with just what you said. And thank you once again, Karen Knight. Do you have any social media connections? I know that you do. So provide your connections for us and also your website. So we'd like to connect.
All right. My website is Karen@KarenKnight.ca. At CA because I'm Canadian. So Karen@KarenKnight.ca, or that Karen@KarenKnight.ca is my email address, but KarenKnight.ca is my website. I'm also on LinkedIn, Karen Knight Consulting, and on Facebook, Karen Knight Consulting. Reach out. I'd love to chat with you.
Right. We'll do that. Thank you once again. Really had a great time with you, Karen Knight, for your professional insight on the topic of discussion on volunteering, right? Especially in this ever-changing dynamic times that we have. Really had a great time indeed. I can only wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors and your projects, right?
Thank you so much.
Omobola.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much once again. It's really a great time having Karen Knight on today's show. Now, if you want to catch up with any of my missed episodes, simply go online and search for Library for Omobola Stephen on any podcast distribution platforms. Then you bump into online or any course promotion platforms you bump into online, and you have an amazing time. Till I come your way, I need you to stay safe. With all my love, I talk to you soon.